Hello friends and subscribers, welcome back to Readings in Impact Investing. My name is Daniel Rosehill. I am based in Jerusalem and I recently set up this new YouTube channel and accompanying podcast in order to read key reports in the world of impact investing, because as anyone who works in this field is undoubtedly aware, it feels like more reports than there is time to read the reports. The reports, however, I think are great ways to get up to date on recent developments, stay current with recent developments and provide a huge amount of value. I just find it sometimes tricky to read these things on pen and paper. So for that reason, I thought it would be a cool little experiment and idea. I'm going to see if anyone actually watches these, to try to present these in a different format, as a video podcast on YouTube and as a audio podcast, which is just basically the audio cut out from the videos. And that is, I'm in the process of getting that distributed via, the podcast hosting systems of the world. It's currently up on Podbean and it's going to be syndicating in the next few days, percolating through all the systems. So whether you're on Android or iOS, Apple, you should be able to find it. Search for Readings in Impact Investing or click the link in the description, which will bring you to where the podcast is actually currently hosted for the moment, our current digital home, and from there to somewhere else. And before we do, this episode is firstly, I'm just going to read the outcomes partnerships off from the ITF State of Play 2023 report. The Impact Taskforce, or ITF, published this report this month, December 2023. And chapter 4, towards the tail end of the report, is called Next Frontiers. And in that report, they set out, big ideas for the future. Regarding capital mobilization, this outcomes partnerships has been a big recommendation, and they have very complimentary and encouraging things to say about it in this chapter. And they also helpfully give 5 different examples of outcomes partnerships in action. So I thought for those who are just interested in that aspect, let's just talk about this in this episode. So I'm going to jump over now I'm going to be reading from my printout, but I will put the PDF here up on the screen where I'm reading from, so folks who want to read along on the screen can do so. Okay, so here are the examples of outcomes partnerships in action, and just by way of maybe just a preface to this, they give a definition from Bridges Outcomes Partnerships, who define an outcome partnership as a program that shifts the focus from paying for specific inputs or activities towards paying for specific measurable outcomes. So, okay, number 1 from Australia, the Commonwealth Outcomes Fund. In their 2023-2024 budget, the Australian government committed 100 million Australian dollars towards establishing an outcomes fund to fund projects based on measurable outcomes with non-profits and social enterprises that have deep understanding of local disadvantages acting as service providers. This fund will create more investable opportunities to address complex social challenges suited to outcomes-based initiatives such as homelessness, health, unemployment, recidivism, and out-of-home care. Example 2, let me just scroll down so it's up on the screen here. From Colombia, Empleando Futuro SIB. In 2017, Colombia was the first country to launch a SIB, social impact bond, in a developing country. The goal was to employ vulnerable individuals in formal jobs and support them in retaining these jobs. The bond successfully placed 899 out of 1,855 individuals in a formal job, retaining over 2/3 of them for at least 3 months, and the remaining third for 6 months or more. The success of this first bond paved the way for the subsequent structuring of impact bonds and funds in the country. Number 3, Nigeria SDG Outcomes Fund. WeCyclers, a Nigerian waste management company that helps low-income individuals exchange their recyclable waste for cash and other rewards, received a 5-year $1.6 million commitment from the SDG Outcomes Fund to establish 26 waste management franchises. These franchises aim to create over 780 jobs, paying at least 25% above the minimum wage, and to recycle 34,000 tons of plastic waste. The World Bank's Multi-Donor Trust Fund, or MDTF, Through the Global Partnership for Results-Based Approaches, the acronym for that is GPRBA, the World Bank launched the MDTF, a fund whose objective is to drive improved social infrastructure and environmental outcomes for poor and vulnerable populations using innovative, outcome-based financing approaches. Over the past year, the World Bank has dispersed over $22 billion globally to fund results-based mechanisms. And finally, we have the very well-known example in this world of outcomes funding and outcomes partnerships of EOF, the Education Outcomes Fund. The GSG, along with the Education Commission, were instrumental in establishing the EOF, an organisation that aims to pool at least $1 billion in aid and philanthropic funding by 2030 and transform the lives of over 10 million children and youth. With the view to funding innovative education and youth employment readiness programs, EOF is also a clear example of public-private cooperation through an innovative model that brings together government, funders, investors, and education organisations to work towards a common objective. Finally, we have, and I will just scroll down so again it's up on the screen, kind of at the tail end here. In orange, they just provide this example from Colombia. Colombia's LOGRA, LOGRA Outcomes Fund. LOGRA is a $5 million plus outcomes fund set up in 2020 by Colombia's Social Prosperity Department with support from IDB Lab and Switzerland's International Cooperation Financing as the first of its kind set up by a government in Latin America. Its objective is to increase employment opportunities for vulnerable populations in times of crisis. So that's it. I just wanted to read those off because I think they're important to illustrate the kind of variety of social outcomes partnerships that are possible as they're calling for them to be scaled up. As I mentioned at the start, this is primarily a podcast, but if you want to get the video, subscribe here on YouTube. And if you want to get in contact with me for any reason, including suggesting other reports, although I already have a bit of a backlog from reading these two reports, reading through the footnotes, suggested a few more really interesting reports. But my email, if anyone wants to drop me a line, is public, PUBLIC, at Daniel Rosehill, ROSEHILL.com. Thanks for watching this episode of Readings in Impact Investing, and until the next one.